The words sliced through me like a knife dipped in acid. "You're old and pathetic, and I'm done pretending to care." My own daughter, standing in the emergency room of Grady Hospital where I had just been admitted with chest pains, looking at me with such cold contempt it froze my blood. Then she turned on her expensive heels and walked out, leaving me alone in that sterile room with machines beeping and nurses bustling around, leaving me to face what I thought might be my last hours on earth without a single family member by my side. I lay there in that hospital bed, 74 years old, hooked up to monitors and IVs, watching the door where my daughter Vanessa had just disappeared, and I wondered how we had gotten here. How the sweet little girl I had raised alone had turned into someone who could look at her dying father and call him pathetic. My name is Theodore Mitchell. I'm 74 years old, and what I'm about to tell you is a story about betrayal so cruel it nearly killed me, and redemption so unexpected it restored my faith that God's justice is real even when it takes time to arrive. But to understand how I ended up alone in that hospital room with my daughter's cruel words echoing in my ears, you need to know the whole story. You need to know about the 50 years of sacrifice and love that led to this moment of complete abandonment. I was born in 1950 in Augusta, Georgia, the third of 6 children in a family so poor we sometimes ate cornmeal mush for every meal for weeks. My daddy worked at the railroad when he could find work, and my mama took in ironing from white families in the nice part of town. We lived in a 4-room house with a leaky roof and gaps in the walls big enough to stick your hand through. But my parents were proud people, God-fearing people who taught us that being poor didn't mean being worthless. They taught us to work hard, to be honest, to treat people right no matter what color they were or how much money they had. I was smart, real smart. My teachers noticed it early, said I had a gift for numbers. I graduated high school in 1968 at the top of my class, one of only 5 black students to graduate that year. I got a scholarship to Fort Valley State College, and I became the first person in my family to go to college. I studied accounting because I wanted a skill that would always be valuable, something that would let me take care of a family, let me give my children the life I never had. I graduated in 1972 with honors, and I got a job at an accounting firm in Atlanta, one of the first black accountants they had ever hired. The pay wasn't great, and I knew I was being paid less than my white colleagues, but it was steady work and it was respectable work. I moved to Atlanta, rented a small apartment in the West End, and started building my life. In 1973, I met Lorraine Johnson at a church social. She was 22 years old, working as a secretary at a law firm, and she had the most beautiful eyes I had ever seen. Eyes that sparkled when she laughed, eyes that looked at me like I was somebody special. We dated for a year, got married in 1974 in a small ceremony at her parents' church. We were poor but we were happy, sharing that tiny apartment, eating beans and rice most nights, dreaming about the future we were going to build together. Vanessa was born in 1976, and she changed everything. When the nurse put her in my arms for the first time, this tiny perfect baby girl with her eyes closed and her little fists clenched, I made a promise to God right then and there. This child would never know hunger. She would never know cold. She would never feel the shame of being poor and black in a world that didn't value either one. I worked harder than I had ever worked in my life. 60, 70 hours a week at the firm, taking on every client they would give me, doing the work nobody else wanted to do. Lorraine went back to work at the law firm when Vanessa was 6 weeks old, and we paid for childcare even though it took most of her paycheck. But we were building something, saving for a house, saving for Vanessa's future. In 1980, we bought our first house. A small 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood in southwest Atlanta. It was old and needed work, but it was ours. I signed those mortgage papers with my hand shaking, knowing I was taking on 30 years of debt, but also knowing I was giving my daughter something I had never had. A home. I was the kind of father who was there. Every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every birthday party. I coached Vanessa's softball team even though I had never played softball in my life. I helped with homework every night, sitting at the kitchen table until we both understood the math problems or the history lessons. Lorraine and I made sure Vanessa had everything she needed and most of what she wanted. Dance lessons, piano lessons, summer camp, a bicycle, books, toys. We saved for her college fund, putting money away every single month even when it meant we went without things we wanted for ourselves. Vanessa was a good girl, mostly. Smart like her daddy, pretty like her mama, with a smile that could light up a room. She had friends, got good grades, was popular at school. I was so proud of her I thought I would burst. But Lorraine got sick when Vanessa was 12 years old. Lupus, the doctors said. It attacked her kidneys, her joints, left her in pain most days and exhausted all the time. She had to quit her job, and suddenly we were living on just my income and it wasn't enough. I took on a second job doing taxes on the side, working evenings and weekends during tax season. I picked up freelance accounting work whenever I could find it. I did whatever it took to keep us afloat, to pay for Lorraine's medications, to make sure Vanessa didn't have to give up her activities. For 6 years, I watched my wife suffer, watched her get weaker, watched the pain eat away at her until some days she couldn't even get out of bed. And through it all, I took care of her. I cooked and cleaned and worked and took care of Vanessa and helped Lorraine with everything she needed. Vanessa helped too at first. She would sit with her mama, bring her water, keep her company. But as she got older, as she became a teenager, she started pulling away. Started spending more time with her friends, less time at home. Started acting embarrassed by her sick mother, by our modest house, by the fact that we couldn't afford all the things her wealthier friends had. "Daddy, everyone has designer clothes," she would say. "Everyone gets to go on spring break trips. Why can't we afford anything?" I would try to explain about her mama's medical bills, about the cost of keeping a house, about saving for her college. But she didn't want to hear it. She just wanted what she wanted. Lorraine died in 1994, when Vanessa was 18 years old. She had just graduated high school, was getting ready to start at Spelman College on a partial scholarship. Lorraine held on just long enough to see her baby girl graduate, and then she let go. I was 44 years old, a widower, with a daughter heading to college and a mountain of medical debt that had accumulated despite our insurance. I refinanced the house to pay off the medical bills, adding another 15 years to the mortgage I had been working to pay off. But Vanessa was in college, was going to get an education, was going to have opportunities her mama and I never had. That's what mattered. I paid for everything the scholarship didn't cover. Tuition, books, housing, food, spending money. I worked 70, 80 hours a week, took every accounting job I could find, did taxes for anyone who needed it. I went without so my daughter could have. And Vanessa was doing well, or so I thought. She made good grades, joined a sorority, made friends. She called home occasionally, always asking for money, but at least she called. I sent her whatever she needed, whatever she asked for, because I wanted her to succeed. She graduated from Spelman in 2000 with a degree in business. I was there at graduation, sitting alone in the crowd because Lorraine was gone, crying with pride as my daughter walked across that stage. Our baby girl, the first college graduate in our family. Vanessa got a job at a marketing firm, started making decent money, got an apartment in Buckhead. She was moving up in the world, moving into spaces I had never been able to access. I was proud of her, proud of what she was accomplishing. But something had changed in her during college. She talked differently, carried herself differently. She had picked up mannerisms and vocabulary from her wealthier classmates, started caring about things that had never mattered in our family. Designer handbags, expensive restaurants, the right kind of car. "Daddy, image matters in my industry," she would say when I questioned why she needed a BMW when a Toyota would get her where she needed to go just fine. she started coming around less and less. Missed Thanksgivings because she was going to a friend's family gathering in the Hamptons. Missed Christmases because she was taking a trip with her sorority sisters. Always had somewhere else to be, somewhere more important than spending time with her old man. In 2005, Vanessa met Travis. He was a lawyer from a wealthy black family in Miami, the kind of family that had been rich for generations, that belonged to Jack and Jill and had cotillions and country club memberships. His daddy owned a law firm, his mama sat on boards of charities. Travis was fine, I guess. Educated, successful, from a good family. But he looked at me like I was something beneath him, like I was embarrassing. And Vanessa started acting embarrassed around me too. When she brought him to the house for the first time, I saw her see my home through his eyes. The old furniture, the worn carpet, the outdated kitchen. The house I had worked 30 years to pay off looked shabby and poor compared to what Travis was used to. "Daddy, you really should update this place," Vanessa said after Travis left. "It's so dated." "It's paid for," I said. "And it's kept a roof over your head for 25 years. I know. Travis's family has money. His parents are going to think." "Think what? That your daddy is poor?" "I am poor, Vanessa. I've always been poor. But I worked hard and I raised you right and I gave you every opportunity one could." "I know, Daddy. I'm grateful. Really. I just want to make a good impression." They got married in 2006. A big fancy wedding at some expensive venue in Buckhead. I paid for it, or at least I paid for half of it because Travis's family was paying the other half. $25,000. Money I didn't have. Money I took out of my retirement savings because my daughter wanted a perfect wedding. I walked her down the aisle in a rented tuxedo that didn't quite fit, and I handed her off to Travis, and I watched my little girl become part of a family that had more money than I would see in 3 lifetimes. At the reception, I sat at a table by myself while Vanessa worked the room with Travis, introducing him to all the important people. She barely spoke to me all night, barely acknowledged I was there. When I tried to give my father of the bride speech, Vanessa cut me off after 2 minutes, said we needed to keep things moving. After the wedding, I saw even less of her. She and Travis bought a big house in Alpharetta, in one of those gated communities where the guards look at you suspiciously if you drive anything less than a luxury car. They invited me over exactly twice in the first year, both times for major holidays when they couldn't avoid it without looking heartless. Travis's parents were always there, and they treated me like I was the help. Travis's mother would make little comments about my clothes, my car, the way I talked. And Vanessa would just smile and change the subject, never defending me, never standing up for her father. In 2008, they had their first child, my grandson Marcus. I was so excited to meet him, to be a grandfather, to have family again. I drove to the hospital as soon as Vanessa called to tell me she was in labor. But when I got there, Travis's whole family was in the room. His parents, his siblings, his grandparents. The room was crowded with wealthy, successful people in expensive clothes, and there was barely space for me. I stood in the corner for 20 minutes, watching everyone else hold my grandson, and then Vanessa said I should probably go because the room was too crowded and the baby needed quiet. I left without holding my own grandson. Drove home in tears, wondering how I had become so invisible in my own daughter's life. Over the years, I tried to be part of Marcus's life, tried to be a good grandfather. But Travis and Vanessa made it clear I wasn't the kind of grandfather they wanted. I wasn't wealthy, wasn't educated enough, wasn't sophisticated enough. My little house in Southwest Atlanta wasn't good enough for their son to visit. "Daddy, Marcus has activities," Vanessa would say when I asked to see him. "Soccer practice, piano lessons, tutoring. He's very busy. Too busy for his grandfather, but never too busy for Travis's parents, who took Marcus on vacations and bought him expensive presents and had him over to their mansion in Coral Gables every summer. In 2012, They had a second child, a daughter named Jasmine. I wasn't even called when she was born. I found out 3 days later when Vanessa finally called to tell me. Sorry, Daddy. It was a very fast labor and things were chaotic. But Travis's whole family had been there. I saw the pictures on Facebook. Everyone except me. I was 62 years old, still working full-time, still living in the same house I had bought 32 years ago. The house was getting older, needed repairs I couldn't always afford. The roof leaked in one corner. The heating system was temperamental. The kitchen was from 1980 and looked it. I called Vanessa once, asked if she could help with some repairs. She said she and Travis had their own expenses, that they were saving for Marcus's private school tuition, that they couldn't afford to help me out. This was my daughter who was living in a 6,000 square foot house, driving a Mercedes, taking vacations to Europe. But she couldn't afford to help her father fix his leaky roof. In 2015, I retired from the accounting firm after 43 years. They gave me a small pension and a plaque thanking me for my service. I was 65 years old, and I was tired. Tired in my bones, tired in my soul. I called Vanessa to tell her about my retirement. She congratulated me, said she was happy for me, said we should get together soon to celebrate. We never did. I started living on my pension and Social Security, which was enough to cover my bills but didn't leave much extra. I ate simply, drove my old car until it died and then bought another old car, cut every corner I could. I was getting by but just barely. The years passed slowly. I saw Vanessa maybe 3 or 4 times a year, always brief visits, always with her checking her phone and saying she had somewhere else to be. The grandchildren grew up barely knowing me. Marcus was polite but distant, called me Mr. Mitchell instead of Grandpa. Jasmine didn't know me at all. Then in 2020, during the pandemic, everything got worse. I didn't see Vanessa or the grandchildren for over a year. She said they were being careful, isolating, couldn't risk exposure. But I saw the pictures on social media. Saw them at Travis's parents' house for holidays. Saw them on vacation in the mountains. They weren't isolating. They just didn't want to be around me. After the pandemic, I thought maybe things would get better. Maybe we could rebuild our relationship. But instead, things got worse. In 2022, I turned 72 years old. Vanessa didn't call, didn't text, didn't acknowledge my birthday at all. I sat in my house alone, ate a piece of cake I had bought for myself at the grocery store, and I cried for the daughter I had lost somewhere along the way. Then in early 2024, my health started declining. My blood pressure was high, my knees hurt all the time, I was having trouble catching my breath. I went to the doctor and he said my heart was showing signs of stress, that I needed to be careful, reduce stress, maybe consider some lifestyle changes. I called Vanessa to tell her, thinking maybe this would bring us closer. Maybe she would want to spend time with her aging father. That's rough, Daddy, she said. But you're tough. You'll be fine. Listen, I have to run. Travis and I are meeting his parents for dinner. Always Travis's parents. Never just coming to see me. In June of 2024, I started having chest pains. Sharp, stabbing pains that took my breath away and made me dizzy. I tried to ignore them at first, tried to tell myself it was just heartburn or stress. But they kept getting worse. One afternoon, the pain got so bad I couldn't stand up straight. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, found me in my yard, doubled over, barely conscious. She called 911, and an ambulance took me to Grady Hospital. In the emergency room, they hooked me up to machines, did tests, took blood. The doctors looked serious, used words like cardiac event and potentially life-threatening. They said I might need surgery, that I might have had a minor heart attack, that I needed to stay for observation. I was scared. More scared than I had been since Lorraine died. Scared that this was it, that I was going to die alone in a hospital room without my daughter, without my grandchildren, without anyone who loved me. I called Vanessa with shaking hands, told her I was in the hospital, that something was wrong with my heart, that I needed her. Daddy, I'm in the middle of something. Can this wait? I'm in the hospital, Vanessa. The emergency room. They think I might have had a heart attack. Silence on the other end. Then, which hospital? Grady. Another pause. Okay, I'll try to get there when I can. She showed up 3 hours later. 3 hours I spent lying in that emergency room bed, watching the door, hoping each time it opened it would be my daughter. 3 hours of being poked and prodded by nurses while I waited for my family to come. When Vanessa finally walked in, she looked annoyed. Annoyed that she had to be there. Annoyed that I had interrupted her day. Annoyed at everything about the situation. What's going on? She asked, not even coming close to the bed, standing near the door like she was ready to leave at any moment. The doctors think I might have had a heart attack. They're running tests. They say I might need surgery. She glanced at her phone. Did they say how long you'll be here? I don't know, baby. They haven't told me yet. Because I have plans tonight. Travis and I are supposed to meet his parents for dinner at 7. My heart monitor started beeping faster. The nurse glanced over, concerned. Vanessa, I might need surgery. I might be dying. You're not dying, Daddy. You're just being dramatic. You've always been dramatic about your health. This is serious. She rolled her eyes at her father lying in a hospital bed. Everything is serious with you. Everything is a crisis. Do you know how many times you've called me over the years with some health scare that turned out to be nothing? This isn't nothing. The doctors always say everything might be serious. That's how they keep you coming back. You're probably fine. A doctor came in then, a young black woman with kind eyes. Mr. Mitchell, we've got your test results. It looks like you did have a minor cardiac event. We're going to admit you for monitoring and potentially for a procedure. Vanessa sighed loudly. How long will that take? The doctor looked at her, surprised. Your father's heart is compromised. He'll need to stay at least a few days. A few days? I can't stay here for a few days. Ma'am, I'm not suggesting you stay, but your father will need support. Someone to help him make medical decisions. Someone to be here for him. He can make his own decisions. He's not incompetent. I reached out for Vanessa's hand. Baby, please. I'm scared. I don't want to be alone. She pulled her hand away. Daddy, you're not alone. You have nurses, doctors. You'll be fine. I need my family. Well, I have my own family to think about. Marcus has a soccer game tomorrow. Jasmine has a recital. I can't just drop everything because you're having another health scare. Another health scare? Vanessa, I might need heart surgery. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and what I saw in her eyes broke my heart worse than any cardiac event ever could. I saw contempt. I saw annoyance. I saw a daughter who wished her father would just disappear and stop being an inconvenience. You know what, Daddy? I'm tired. I'm tired of the calls. I'm tired of the guilt trips. I'm tired of you always needing something. You're old and pathetic, and I'm done pretending to care. The words hung in the air like poison. The nurse gasped. The doctor's mouth fell open, and I just stared at my daughter, unable to believe what I had just heard. You don't mean that, I whispered. I do mean it. I've been carrying the burden of you my whole life. Poor Theodore, working so hard, sacrificing so much. Do you know how embarrassing you are? Do you know what Travis's family thinks of you? What my friends think? You're an embarrassment, Daddy. An old, poor, embarrassing man who never amounted to anything. Tears were running down my face. The heart monitor was beeping wildly. The nurse was calling for help. I raised you, I said, my voice breaking. I worked 3 jobs sometimes to give you everything you needed. I paid for your college. I paid for your wedding. I loved you with everything I had. And I'm supposed to be grateful? You did what parents are supposed to do. You don't get a medal for basic parenting. And now you expect me to take care of you? To put my life on hold because you're old and sick? No, I have my own life, my own family. I'm done with you. She turned to leave, and I called out to her one last time. Vanessa, please, don't leave me like this. She stopped at the door and looked back at me. You're old and pathetic, and I'm done pretending to care. Find someone else to burden with your problems. And then she was gone. She walked out of that emergency room and left me alone, hooked up to machines with my heart literally and figuratively broken. The nurse was by my side immediately, checking my vitals, calling for a doctor. I was sobbing now, couldn't stop sobbing, the grief and pain pouring out of me in waves. Mr. Mitchell, you need to calm down. Your heart can't take this stress. But I couldn't calm down. My daughter, the little girl I had raised alone, the child I had sacrificed everything for, had just called me old and pathetic and walked away from me in my time of greatest need. The doctor gave me something to calm me down, and I drifted into a medicated haze. But even through the drugs I could feel the pain of Vanessa's words, the horror of her betrayal. They admitted me to the cardiac unit that evening. I spent 3 days in the hospital alone. No visitors, no family. Just me and the nurses and the machines that kept beeping to remind me my heart was damaged. The cardiologist came to see me on the 2nd day. Mr. Mitchell, you need a stent procedure. Your arteries are blocked. Without intervention, you're at high risk for a major cardiac event. How much will it cost? Your Medicare should cover most of it, but there will be some out-of-pocket costs. Maybe $3,000 or $4,000. Money I didn't have. But what choice did I have? Die or go into debt? Do what you need to do, doctor. They did the procedure the next day. I went under anesthesia alone, woke up alone, recovered alone. When they discharged me 4 days after I was first admitted, I called a cab to take me home because I had no one to call. Mrs. Patterson, bless her, had been checking on my house. She had my mail, had watered my plants, had left a casserole in my refrigerator. Mr. Mitchell, you should have called me, she said. I would have come to the hospital. I didn't want to burden anyone. Burden? Child, where is your daughter? Why wasn't she there? I couldn't answer. Couldn't tell her that my own daughter had called me pathetic and abandoned me. The shame of it was too much. I spent the next 2 weeks recovering at home, following doctor's orders, taking my medications, trying to heal. But the physical wounds healed faster than the emotional ones. Vanessa's words played in my head on repeat. Old and pathetic. An embarrassment. Done pretending to care. I didn't call her. Didn't text her. Didn't reach out at all. What was the point? She had made her feelings clear. But I couldn't stop thinking about how we got here. About the years of sacrifice, of love, of working myself to the bone to give her a better life. About sitting with her while she did homework. About coaching her softball team. About being there for every milestone. About Lorraine dying and me raising Vanessa alone through her teenage years. About paying for college, about paying for her wedding, about all the times I went without so she could have. And for what? To be called pathetic in a hospital room and abandoned? Then one day, about 3 weeks after I got out of the hospital, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Mitchell? This is attorney Sandra Coleman. I specialize in elder law, and I received information about your situation from a concerned party. I'd like to meet with you to discuss your rights. My rights? Yes, sir. What your daughter did to you constitutes elder abandonment, which is a form of elder abuse under Georgia law. You may have legal recourse. Someone had reported Vanessa's abandonment. I later found out it was the nurse who had been in the room when Vanessa called me pathetic and walked out. She had been so disturbed by what she witnessed that she contacted an elder rights organization. I met with Attorney Coleman the next day. She was a black woman in her 50s, sharp and compassionate, and she listened to my whole story without interrupting. "Mr. Mitchell, what your daughter did is unconscionable. Not only did she abandon you during a medical emergency, she also verbally abused you in a vulnerable state. We have witness statements from hospital staff. We also have records showing you're her only living parent, and she's listed as your emergency contact but refused to provide care or support. What can I do? We can file a civil suit for elder abandonment and emotional distress. We can also petition the court to compel her to reimburse you for the money you spent on her education and wedding, as those were gifts given with the expectation of familial support that she has refused to provide. I don't want to sue my daughter. Mr. Mitchell, I understand, but sometimes legal action is the only way to get people to acknowledge their wrongdoing. And frankly, your daughter needs to face consequences for her actions. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about Lorraine, about what she would want me to do. Thought about all the years of being treated like I was less than, like I was an embarrassment, like I was a burden. And I thought about Vanessa calling me old and pathetic and walking away from me in that hospital room. File the lawsuit, I said. The papers were served to Vanessa a week later. She called me immediately, furious. "Daddy, what the hell is this? You're suing me? You abandoned me at the hospital, Vanessa. You called me pathetic and left me alone when I might have been dying. I was busy. I had plans. Your father had a heart attack and you were too busy for him? Oh, please. You're fine. You're always fine. This is just another one of your manipulations to get attention." Manipulations? I needed heart surgery, Vanessa. I was scared and alone and you walked away from me. Because I'm tired of your neediness. You've been guilt-tripping me my whole life. I worked so hard for you. I sacrificed so much. I never asked you to do any of that. You were a child. Children don't ask to be raised. But parents do it anyway because that's what love is. Well, maybe I don't love you. Did you ever think of that? Maybe I never loved you. Maybe I just tolerated you because I had to. The words should have hurt, but I had already heard her call me pathetic. This was just more of the same. Then you won't mind paying back the money I spent on you. The college tuition, the wedding, all of it. That was gifts. You can't demand gifts back. Gifts are given with the expectation of love and gratitude. You've shown me neither. See you in court, Vanessa. I hung up before she could respond, and for the first time since that hospital room, I felt something other than pain. I felt a small spark of satisfaction, of justice being served. The lawsuit moved forward. Vanessa hired an expensive lawyer, tried to paint me as a vindictive old man trying to punish his daughter for living her own life. But Attorney Coleman had hospital records, witness statements, documentation of years of neglect. Mr. Mitchell has a documented medical emergency, cardiac distress requiring surgical intervention. Attorney Coleman argued in court. His daughter was notified, came to the hospital, verbally abused him in front of medical staff, and then abandoned him. This is textbook elder abandonment. Vanessa's lawyer tried to argue that adult children aren't legally required to care for their parents. But Attorney Coleman pointed out that Georgia law specifically addresses elder abandonment in medical situations, and that the verbal abuse compounded the offense. The judge, a black woman in her 60s who had probably seen too many cases like mine, listened to everything and then asked Vanessa a direct question. "Ms. Wellington, did you call your father old and pathetic and tell him you were done pretending to care while he was in the emergency room with cardiac distress?" Vanessa's lawyer whispered to her, but she shook her head and answered, "I was upset. I said things I didn't mean. Did you say them? Yes. And did you then leave the hospital without ensuring your father had support or assistance? He had doctors and nurses. That wasn't my question. Did you leave him alone? Yes. The judge's expression hardened. I've heard enough. Ms. Wellington, your behavior toward your father was cruel, callous, and legally actionable. I'm finding in favor of Mr. Mitchell. You are ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $75,000, representing a portion of the money he spent on your education and wedding, plus damages for emotional distress. Vanessa gasped. Her lawyer objected, but the judge shut him down. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm ordering you to attend family counseling with your father and to issue a public apology for your behavior. Your actions are a disgrace, Ms. Wellington. Mr. Mitchell worked his entire life to give you opportunities, and you repaid him with contempt and abandonment. You should be ashamed. Vanessa was sobbing now, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of anger and humiliation. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt satisfied. But I just felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that my daughter had turned into someone who could treat her father with such cruelty. Sad that Lorraine wasn't here to see what her baby girl had become. After the trial, Vanessa's life fell apart in ways I never intended. The story of the lawsuit made local news. A headline about a daughter who abandoned her father in the hospital and was ordered to pay restitution. The Black community in Atlanta is tight-knit, and word spread fast. Vanessa's friends distanced themselves from her. Her church asked her to step down from the boards she served on. Even Travis's family, who had always looked down on me, were horrified by what she had done. Travis called me 2 months after the trial. Mr. Mitchell, I need to talk to you about Vanessa. I'm listening. She's falling apart. She can't sleep, can't eat. She's lost her job because the publicity from the lawsuit made her a liability. We're having problems in our marriage because of the financial strain and because I'm ashamed of what she did. I'm sorry to hear that, Travis. Are you? Because you destroyed her life. I didn't destroy anything. I asked for accountability. Your wife called me pathetic and abandoned me in a hospital. All I did was refuse to accept that treatment. She made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. What your wife did was deliberate cruelty. She wants to apologize. To really apologize, not the court-ordered one. She wants to make things right. It's too late for that, Travis. Is it? Is it really? You got your money. You got your justice. Can't you forgive her? I thought about that question for a long time. Could I forgive her? Should I? Tell Vanessa I'll meet with her, I said finally. Once. She can say what she needs to say. The meeting happened a week later at my house. Vanessa showed up looking terrible, like she hadn't slept in weeks. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face gaunt. Daddy, she said, her voice cracking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said, for what I did. I was cruel and heartless, and you didn't deserve any of it. No, I didn't. I don't know what happened to me. I got so caught up in Travis's world, in trying to fit in trying to be someone I wasn't. And I forgot where I came from. I forgot who raised me. I forgot that you sacrificed everything for me. You didn't forget, Vanessa. You just didn't care. She flinched like I had slapped her. You're right. I didn't care. I was so focused on my own life, on impressing Travis's family, on maintaining this image of success, that I stopped seeing you as my father. I started seeing you as an embarrassment, as something to be hidden away. Why? Because you reminded me of where I came from. Because Travis's family is so wealthy and sophisticated, and you're just you. A working-class man from Southwest Atlanta who talks like he's from the South and drives an old car and lives in a house that needs updating. And I was ashamed of that. I was ashamed of you. The honesty hurt, but it was the first honest thing she had said to me in years. Your mama would be heartbroken, I said quietly. I know. I think about that every day. Mama loved you so much. She would be so disappointed in who I became. She would be. Lorraine was sick for 6 years, and I took care of her every single day. Worked multiple jobs, cooked her meals, helped her bathe, sat with her through the pain. I never once complained. I never once made her feel like a burden. And you couldn't even stay with me for an hour in the hospital. Vanessa was crying now, deep sobs that shook her whole body. I know, Daddy, and I can't take it back. I can't undo what I did, but I want to try to make it right. Please, give me a chance. I looked at my daughter, this woman who had caused me so much pain, and I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the possibility of forgiveness someday. What do you want from me, Vanessa? I want to be your daughter again. I want to bring Marcus and Jasmine to see you. I want Sunday dinners. I want to be a family again. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. And Travis? Does he support this? Travis and I are separating. He says he can't be married to someone who would treat their father the way I treated you. He's filing for divorce. I should have felt satisfaction at that, but I just felt sad. Another family breaking apart. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't be. He's right to leave me. I've become someone neither of us recognizes. Someone Mama wouldn't recognize. I need to figure out who I am without Travis, without his family's money and influence. I need to find my way back to the person you and Mama raised. That's going to take time, Vanessa. And work. Real work. I know. And I'm willing to do it. The court ordered family counseling. Can we please go together? Really try this time. I thought about it, thought about Lorraine, thought about the little girl who used to climb into my lap and tell me I was the best daddy in the whole world. We can try, I said finally. But I'm not making any promises. You broke my heart, Vanessa. You broke it in a way I'm not sure can be fixed. I understand. But I'll spend the rest of my life trying if you'll let me. Over the next 6 months, Vanessa and I went to counseling every week. It was hard, painful work. We had to dig through years of resentment, of neglect, of hurt feelings and unmet expectations. The therapist, Dr. Freeman, was a no-nonsense black woman in her 50s who didn't let either of us get away with anything. Vanessa, you treated your father like he was disposable, she said in one session. You took everything he gave you and gave nothing back. You were ashamed of the man who sacrificed everything for you. That's not just cruel. That's a fundamental failure of character. Vanessa nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. And Theodore, Dr. Freeman turned to me, you need to express your anger. You need to tell your daughter exactly how much she hurt you. Not to punish her, but to heal. Keeping all that pain inside is killing you just as surely as your heart condition. So I told her about every missed birthday, every canceled visit, every time she chose Travis's family over me. Told her about lying in that hospital bed watching the door, hoping she would come back. Told her about the nurse holding my hand while I cried because my own daughter had called me pathetic and walked away. Vanessa listened to all of it, and she didn't make excuses or try to justify it. She just listened and cried and apologized over and over. Daddy, I can't change what I did, but I can change what I do from here. If you'll let me. Slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding. Vanessa started coming by every Sunday for dinner, just like she used to when she was younger. She brought Marcus and Jasmine, and I got to know my grandchildren for the first time. Marcus was 12 now, old enough to understand some of what had happened. Grandpa, I'm sorry we didn't visit you more, he said one Sunday. Mom says it was her fault, not ours. Your mama is right. But you're here now, and that's what matters. Jasmine was shy at first, this 8-year-old granddaughter who didn't know me at all. But I was patient, and gradually she warmed up. She liked my garden, liked helping me water the plants and pull weeds. She reminded me of Vanessa at that age, before the world got to her. Vanessa paid back the $75,000 over time, selling the big house in Alpharetta and moving into a modest apartment. She got a new job, something that paid less but gave her more time with her children. She started coming to my church, the same church where she had been baptized as a child. I forgot what this felt like, she said one Sunday after service. Being part of a community that knows you, that cares about you not because of what you have but because of who you are. That's what you grew up with, Vanessa. That's what your mama and I tried to give you. I know. And I threw it away for fancy houses and designer clothes and people who only cared about me because of who Travis was. I was a fool. You were lost. But you're finding your way back. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, times when old resentments bubbled up, times when I looked at Vanessa and remembered her standing in that hospital room calling me pathetic. But we kept working at it, kept showing up for counseling, kept trying. And slowly, painfully, something like healing began to happen. One day, about 8 months after the trial, Vanessa came over with a box. "Daddy, I found this when I was cleaning out the storage unit. I thought you might want it." Inside the box were photo albums from when Vanessa was young. Pictures of her as a baby, as a little girl, at her first day of school, at her softball games. Pictures of me and Lorraine, young and in love, holding our daughter between us. We sat on the couch and went through them together, and Vanessa cried as she saw the evidence of how much we had loved her, how much we had given her. "Look at Mama's face in this picture," she said, pointing to a photo of Lorraine at Vanessa's 6th birthday party. "She looks so happy. She was happy. You were her whole world. We both loved you more than anything. And I repaid you by treating you like you were worthless. You made mistakes, Vanessa. Bad mistakes. But you're trying to fix them. That counts for something." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Really forgive me?" I thought about it, about forgiveness, about what it means and what it costs. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Some days I think I have. Some days I look at you and I see my little girl and my heart just opens up. But other days I remember what you said, how you looked at me, and the anger comes back. That's fair. More than fair. But I'm trying, Vanessa. I'm trying to forgive you. And maybe that's enough for now." She hugged me then, and I hugged her back, and we both cried for what we had lost and what we were trying to rebuild. Now, a year after that terrible day in the hospital, things are different. Not perfect. Not like they were when Vanessa was young and innocent and loved me without reservation. But different in a way that might be sustainable. Vanessa comes by twice a week now, not just on Sundays. She helps me with things around the house, fixes things that are broken, sometimes just sits with me and talks. Marcus and Jasmine call me Grandpa now, and they mean it. We have a real relationship, not just polite visits. Vanessa's divorce from Travis was finalized 6 months ago. They share custody of the kids, and while Travis still lives in his fancy world, Vanessa has chosen something different, something simpler, something more like the life she grew up in. "I don't miss it," she told me last week. The big house, the expensive car, the keeping up with the Joneses lifestyle. It was exhausting, and it made me into someone I didn't recognize. "You're finding your way back to yourself." "I'm trying. Some days I feel like the old Vanessa, the girl you and Mama raised. Other days I'm still that bitter, ashamed woman who called her father pathetic. But I'm working on it. My health is better now. The stent procedure worked. and I'm managing my blood pressure and taking my medications faithfully. Vanessa goes with me to all my doctor's appointments now, takes notes, asks questions, makes sure I understand everything. I should have been doing this all along, she said at my last cardiology appointment. Taking care of you the way you took care of Mama. You're doing it now. That's what matters. Last month, on what would have been Lorraine's 70th birthday, Vanessa and I went to the cemetery together. We brought flowers, sat by her grave, and told her everything that had happened. Mama, I messed up so bad, Vanessa said, crying. I forgot everything you and Daddy taught me. I became someone you would be ashamed of. But I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to be the daughter you raised me to be. I put my arm around Vanessa's shoulders, and we sat there together, father and daughter, grieving the woman we both loved and missed. Your mama forgives you, I said. She loved you more than life, and she would be proud that you're trying to make things right. Do you forgive me, Daddy? I thought about it, about forgiveness, about redemption, about second chances. I'm getting there, I said. Ask me again in another year. She smiled through her tears. I'll keep asking until you say yes. I know you will. I'm 75 years old now. My daughter called me old and pathetic and abandoned me in a hospital when I thought I might be dying. She broke my heart in a way I didn't think it could be broken. But she came back. She's trying to make amends. She's rebuilding the relationship she destroyed. And while I'm not sure I'll ever fully forgive her, I'm learning that sometimes trying is enough. Some people might say I should have cut her out of my life completely, that what she did was unforgivable. But she's my daughter, my only child, the little girl I raised with Lorraine, the baby we dreamed about and planned for and loved with everything we had. And sometimes, love means giving people a second chance even when they don't deserve it. Sometimes love means holding people accountable but also leaving the door open for redemption. Vanessa is working to earn back my trust, my love, my respect. It's hard work and it will take time, maybe years. But she's doing it. She's showing up. She's trying. And in the end, maybe that's all any of us can do. Try. Fail. Get back up. Try again. Last Sunday, Vanessa made her mama's famous sweet potato pie. The recipe Lorraine had taught her when she was young. We sat around my kitchen table, me and Vanessa and Marcus and Jasmine, eating pie and talking and laughing. This tastes just like Grandma's, Marcus said. That's because it is Grandma's recipe, Vanessa said. She taught me how to make it when I was about your age. Said every good Southern cook needs to know how to make a proper sweet potato pie. Will you teach me? Jasmine asked. Of course, baby. Just like my mama taught me and her mama taught her. We'll keep the tradition going. I watched my daughter teaching my granddaughter, passing down Lorraine's legacy, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope that maybe we really could rebuild what had been broken. Hope that maybe forgiveness was possible. Hope that maybe, just maybe, we could be a family again. I'm 75 years old. I've lived through poverty and racism and loss and betrayal. I've buried a wife and been abandoned by a daughter. I've had my heart broken literally and figuratively. But I'm still here, still standing, still hoping, still trying. And sometimes that's enough. If you liked my story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you in advance. And you, what would you do in this person's place? I would love to hear your opinion, so please share it with me in the comments. I'm always curious about what you all think, and also write me where you're listening from. For more life stories like this, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. There are many other stories waiting for you. Stories about betrayal, redemption, and the strength we find when we refuse to let cruelty have the final word. With heartfelt greetings, until next time.